Follow us around on our 30-day journey from Hanoi in the north all the way down to Ho Chi Minh City in the south. Join us as we cruise the World Heritage Site of Halong Bay, see some historical places, snorkel in the Gulf of Thailand and relax on some of the most beautiful beaches Vietnam has to offer. Come with us as we are visiting Vietnam. After a whole day of traveling with 3 different flights covering a distance of around 10,500 kilometers, we found ourselves in the crowded but nevertheless cozy old quarter of Hanoi. We were starving from the trip, so we got our hands on our first Vietnamese banh mi sandwich. After lunch, we walked through the well-known Dong Xuan Center and made our way through some small alleys in the old quarter of Hanoi.
Guck mal da oben auf dem Dach.
We walked to the night market next to Hoa Lake, where a lot of street musicians were performing due to the Tet Festival, which was about to begin. Tet is the Vietnamese version of the Chinese New Year, and it's a national holiday. We ended our evening with some of the local beer Ahoy, a very cheap rice beer sold in little corner shops the day it's produced. The second morning was as noisy as the previous night, so we tried to find a quiet place in a pagoda nearby.
Geil irgendwie das Zeug.
In the middle of the famous Hoa Kim Lake is the Turtle Tower, built on a former fishing site. We strolled around the streets of Hanoi only to find the beautiful Temple of Literature, which is one of the landmarks that found its way onto the back of Vietnam's 100,000 dong bill. The Temple of Literature was built in 1070 under the Emperor Li Teng-tong and is dedicated to Confucius. The temple hosts the first national university in Vietnam, the Imperial Academy. Our time of arrival in Hanoi actually was during the time of the AFC U23 football championship, and Vietnam had made it to the finals. The city was in an exceptional state because the final game was coming up the same day. The city was covered in flags and, yeah, for sure, noise. While the game was on, the streets were deserted, and so Arnsten and I walked all the way to West Lake. We saw a pagoda from afar and decided to take a closer look. Getting dark, we made our way back to the old quarter to get some local food. The next morning we got breakfast in a little cafe in the old quarter and walked our way to the prison museum in Hanoi. Hoa Lo prison was used by the French colonialists for political prisoners and later by North Vietnam for US prisoners of the Vietnam War. The name Hoa Lo translates to Hell's Hole. During its later period, it became known as the Hanoi Hilton. A large number of prisoners squeezed through the sewer grates to escape. We walked our way back to the old quarter and went into a guy from Germany living and working in Vietnam. We decided to have lunch together before we jumped on a bus to Halong to arrive late on the same evening. We used the next day to explore Halong, and to our surprise, there were signs and construction sites everywhere for an upcoming amusement park. Nevertheless, just walking down the main street provides you with a lot of different views. Even a cable car for tourists to offer easy access to the attractions was built. From our hostel, we could overlook the parking spot of the amusement park, and in the background lies Halong Bay. We decided to take a look at what exactly they were building there. The park will be called Sun World and will have several themed rides, roller coasters and even a water park. Away from the main road to find a part of Halong that was a little more original. We walked back when it was dark and finished the day at our hostel with some rounds of pool.
NASA?
For the next morning, we booked a one-day boat tour into Halong Bay.
Hast du Bock?
Originally, we had planned to visit Sapa all the way up in the north and the Ban Joc waterfalls on the border to China, but it was pretty cold in northern Vietnam, so we skipped these locations and decided to travel further south, discovering that Halong Bay was just as cold. No matter the weather, Halong Bay is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and there is a definite reason for it being part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The scenery is breathtaking, and you can easily dream away watching the picturesque beauty of the countless limestone formations and islands. at a platform where tourists were kayaking, but we decided to just chill at the boats and wait for the other group members to finish their activities. One of the crew members came up to the top deck to point out the limestone formation that looks like two kissing chickens.
Male and female chicken. They're kissing.
This landmark is printed on the backside of Vietnam's 200,000 dong bill. The next stop of our tour was two of Halong Bay's most famous caves.
It's the first time for you in Vietnam.
Tam Coc Cave has one chamber more than 100 meters long. It is subdivided into smaller chambers by massive stalactites and stalagmites. Dao Go Cave is simply a massive descending tunnel. We returned to Halong Town after seeing the impressive caves and went to get some food before chilling back home in our hostel. We slept until midday and caught a bus to Tam Coc. It's a 6-hour bus ride, and so we arrived there in the evening hours and looked for a hostel. Tam Coc is a really small town that doesn't seem used to much tourism until recently, which was really nice to see after the situation in Halong. We went to bed pretty early to be energized for our upcoming plan for the next day. It turned out the hostel we checked in the evening before was just walking distance away from one of the most famous sites of the area, so we packed some essentials and got going. Tam Coc is known for the wide extended rice fields and for it being a movie location. Parts of the movie Kong Skull Island were shot at the Tam Coc National Park. Our mission for the day was to find a dragon on the top of a long stair set we had only seen a picture of. A 20-minute walk later, we were able to catch a glimpse of our destination.
Da ganz oben ist er.
The Hangmua Peak is one of the most spectacular sights to visit around the area. Close to 500 steps bring you to the tip, where you have one of the most beautiful 360-degree views of the entire region.
Im Brautkleid.
We started our ascent and were nothing less than impressed to see a woman in a wedding dress making her way up to get some wedding photography done.
Brautkleid.
To be honest, this place isn't the worst of choices. We reached the top, consumed some unwanted extra protein, and enjoyed the views of the area. I wanted to get a shot of the dragon close up, so I went in for a better look. Climbing there is by far not the safest thing to do, but it was worth the view.
Such an unreal place.
It really is.
Da geht's runter. Für die, die dann doch nicht ganz hochgekommen sind.
We made our way back down and took a short look into the Tiger Cave, which is located at the foot of the mountain. With the sun setting, we headed back to the town of Tam Coc and packed our bags together on a night train further down to the south of Vietnam the same night. Traveling by night train is one of the cheapest and most comfortable options in Vietnam, since there is a train line from Hanoi all the way down to Ho Chi Minh City.
Da ist der Arnsten. Hier kannst du noch rein, oder? Nach rechts, oder?
It turned out we had booked economy seats for a 12-hour sleeper train, and so we tried to make the best out of the situation. I didn't catch much sleep due to some cockroaches crawling up and down the window frame next to me.
Ist auch begeistert, ne? Wonach suchen wir?
Sonne.
Walking on sunshine. Das ist eine Lüge.
Expecting some more sun, we arrived in the city of Hue in the midst of a rainstorm and made some fun of the situation. We only had one set of long clothes with us that urgently needed washing, since we had worn them every day since we had arrived in Hanoi. With finished our evening as always and hope for some weather improvement for the next day.
Trau dich!
The next morning started off grey but dry, and so we decided to go and see the famous Imperial City, which also goes by the name of Forbidden City. It spreads out 2 by 2 kilometers and is oriented to face the Perfume River to the east. The reigns of the last Vietnamese emperors lasted until the mid-1900s.
Sieht ein bisschen aus wie der Drachen in Tam Coc. Bisschen, ne?
The citadel contains a palace inspired by the Forbidden City in Peking.
Überall Schwalben hier. Woo!
Since 1993, the Imperial City is a part of the UNESCO World Heritage. We walked around the ruins for some hours before we continued along the Perfume River to one of the pagodas in Hue.
Oh, hier riecht's nach diesem Tee. Ekelhaft.
Hue is a really beautiful town as far as we saw it, and we really liked the amount of temples and ancient sites. Tien Mu Pagoda was built because of a local legend in which an old lady known as Tien Mu, literally celestial lady, dressed in red and blue, foretold that a lord will come and erect a pagoda on the hill to pray for the country's prosperity. She then vanished after making a prophecy. Upon hearing this, the first Nguyen Lord Hoang ordered the construction of a temple at the site. We decided to take a boat back to the other side of Hue along the Perfume River. Back in the area our hostel was located, we walked around the city to find ourselves on a small walking street where some kind of live event was taking place. We finished the day in the tavern bar we had already enjoyed the day before. We were so tired of the rain that we decided to try our luck further down south in a city called Da Nang. It's a beautiful bus ride along the coast, but as always, Arnsten used the time for some sleep. We arrived in Da Nang in the afternoon hours and felt really relieved to see the sun.
Da Nang. Sonnenschein.
Unfortunately, we weren't the only ones making our way down south along the Banana Pancake Trail, so all the hostels close to the city center were already fully booked and we had to walk for a while to find some free beds. But being located on the other side of the river turned out to be a blessing in disguise, since it was a Sunday evening and the Dragon Bridge was about to put on its fire show. We went to the center to get some food and straight back to the head of the dragon not to miss out on the action. After the spectacle ended, we walked along the bridge and enjoyed the views of the neon-enlightened city before returning to our hostel.
Siehst hier gar nicht drauf.
The next morning, we had the ambition to go and see the Lady Buddha statue, which is on the Son Tran Peninsula. To be honest, if I would have to do it again, I would rather go by taxi or rent a scooter. Passing by some small improvised shops, a huge lake and another wedding photography session, we slowly but surely got closer to our destination.
Auf, Arnsten! Gleich oben hier.
What we thought would be walking distance turned out to be a 10-kilometer walk up the hill. The Lady Buddha is the tallest Buddha statue in all of Vietnam with a height of 67 meters.
Na denn, hoch da.
Facing the sea, the statue can be seen from any point in the city of Da Nang. Inside the statue are 17 floors with an altar with 21 different Buddha statues on each of them. Nearby the statue is another beautiful pagoda, way worth the visit. impressed by this cultural site, we took a taxi from the Lady Buddha to bring us to the Marble Mountains not far away from our location.
Sailing bar.
The Marble Mountains are a cluster of 5 marble and limestone hills located in the south of Da Nang city. The mountains are named after the 5 elements: metal, water, wood, fire and earth. All of the mountains have cave entrances and numerous tunnels, and it is possible to climb to the summit of Mount Tui. Several Buddhist sanctuaries can also be found within the mountains, making this a well-known tourist destination. We took the local bus back into Da Nang city and looked for a location to spend the evening to get some local food and drinks. We ended up eating some extra expensive spaghetti at a riverside restaurant. We figured out the Vietnamese people like the Bundesliga just as much as German people do. After some drinks, we had a conversation with some locals there and finally got more than we asked for.
Oh. Himmel, wa? Und was sagst du zur Gesamtsituation?
Unzufrieden, ne?
Ja, unzufrieden, ne? Hier wohnen wir. Das Kanada ist zu. Wie jetzt?